Some new games are announced. We got updates on upcoming remakes, the James Bond game, some other games that I think should be on your radar, Spider-Man stuff, and way more gaming news to go over. So sit back and let's go. But first, Spider-Man 2 is coming to PC already in January, the 30th to be exact. This is 15 months after the PS5 release. Like, it's a trend now that these big PlayStation exclusives go to PC faster and faster. It was first 2 years, but God of War Ragnarok launched almost a year and a half later on PC. So this might mean that Ghost of Yotei could already hit PC in 2026, a year after the PlayStation 5 launch. Like, the idea is of course to push people to buy a PlayStation 5 to play these exclusive single player games, but if they don't do that after a year, then they are probably never going to. So it makes sense to shorten the time window to also, make sure the game is not super old when they drop it on PC. Although, at least back in May, the plan was still to not launch these big tentpole single player games simultaneously on PS5 and PC. Although I do think in our lifetime that will change at some point. Right now this tactic is of course still working for Sony, while of course their live service games and also remakes like Until Dawn recently are launching day one on PC. Now in the blog post they say that the PC version of Spidey 2 includes everything the PS5 version does right now, so also all the post-launch features they added. But they also note that we have no additional story content planned for Marvel Spider-Man 2. Damn, that really sucks to read. I wonder what changed. Like, the big Insomniac leak last year hinted at 3 pieces of DLC, and then later, with the New Game Plus update, we could access the dev menu for a brief moment, and there that first DLC from the leak was confirmed, as we saw the Beetle villain arc with specific points that the developers would use to jump to. So this was pretty far in development, with even hints to Beetle-inspired suits in the game files. The second DLC would be Carnage themed, and the third one would be based around the Spider-Verse. But maybe they decided to hold this for the potential Venom game that got leaked as well and could already be out in 2025. It sadly does validate my point from the review. Like, the game just had too many cliffhangers for future content, so I felt like not really satisfied finishing Spider-Man 2, as it did not feel complete. And now without DLC, we have to at least wait another year if the Venom game is actually happening for the Carnage story arc to be completed, and maybe even 4 years for the third game before we see all the other stories like the Chameleon finished as well. Cliffhangers work for TV and movies where you have to wait like 2 years max, but probably way less than that, while for a game like this where it can be 5 years before the next one comes out, it's no fun. Now, seems like we still get an update for the game in October, as the Fly and Fresh suits that you could first buy will then be available for free on PS5 and at launch on PC. Now, of course, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments down below. Xbox had a partner showcase this week that revealed quite some interesting games that are coming to PlayStation as well. My highlight is totally Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, that at first sight looks like another Souls-like. It has the parry-focused gameplay where even regular enemies can be a real challenge, but as the trailer goes on, it gets more interesting thanks to ranged weapons our main character can use, including a flamethrower, and she can do a ton of magical abilities, and I really like it when these action games have a strong main character as well, so you have many options to tackle the different difficult bosses. And Wu Chang Fallen Feathers totally seems to deliver on that. It's coming 2025, and it's also day one on Game Pass. FBC Firebreak is another interesting one, a 3-player co-op shooter from Remedy in the Control universe, where you go on missions that should be highly replayable. I think it looks pretty cool. The game has different crisis kits, so you can make your own loadout with different weapons, tools and augments, and the best part is that it will be day one on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. So if you got the higher subscription or just subscribe for the month, you can try this game out. So pretty sweet. It should be around the $30 standalone, and I hope this is a hit for Remedy because they kinda need it, as Alan Wake 2 still did not turn a profit. The final DLC for that game, The Lake House, now by the way got a release date October 22nd, so this coming week. Another game that totally deserves a shout out is Eternal Strands. That looks like a more combat focused spiritual successor to Immortals by ex-Ubisoft Quebec developers and Mike Laidlaw, the creative director on the Dragon Age games. The idea is that we can use both our weapons and all the different elements to creatively take out huge creatures that roam large open levels, and I love the art style and character design, and I really hope it lives up to the promise of being able to take out these huge enemies in multiple different ways. So we now learned that the game is coming day one to Game Pass, which is great news, next to PC and PlayStation 5, and it should be out in early 2025. I hope they go for like an end of March date though, as February is already way too crowded, but yes, I'm keeping an eye on this one for sure. Of course, let me know which one of those games look appealing to you in the comments down below, and let's go over some other gaming news as well. Of course, if you like these big videos, leave a like, that would really help me out, and subscribe, because we post one of these gaming news roundups every Sunday. We got an update on the Splinter Cell remake from Insider Gaming and learned that instead of using the Unreal Engine like the previous games, it's being made on Snowdrop, the Division engine, also recently used for Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws. Say what you will about those games, but they looked stunning, so I can't wait to see what this remake will look like. I think we will probably see it next year at the Ubisoft Forward. Sources to Insider Gaming have suggested that a release date could come in 2026, but they did not want to be held to that time frame. Which is kinda wild, because these are the Far Cry 6 developers that are working on it. They started at the end of 2021, so you would think a 4-year development cycle would be the maximum you want to spend on this. But yeah, then we're looking at almost 5 years if it's 2026. Which would be as long or longer than their brand new games, which kinda crazy. The Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake is also planned for 2026. 5 years after the previous version they first wanted to put out in January 2021. But yeah, as you might know, these are not the first remakes Ubisoft plans to launch. The first one is actually one that is not announced yet, the Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag remake that should be out in November 2025. It will be a very important title for them, not only because Ubisoft needs a win in terms of sales right now, but also because it will show us what a Ubisoft remake actually means, as it's different for every company. Will it more like the Capcom Resident Evil all the way approach, or like Sony, where they don't mind putting the label on titles that only have some graphical improvements? Speaking of which, we now got more details about the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, and I kind of struggled to think of a reason why The Last of Us Part 1 was called a remake and this a remaster, because they've done a ton of interesting stuff with this Horizon Zero Dawn re-release. For one, Nixxes, the PlayStation port studio mostly responsible for the remaster, they are by the way the MVP, like they also did the Ghost of Tsushima PC port, they're doing the Spider-Man 2 PC port, one of the best acquisitions for Sony hands down. So they looked at concept art for Horizon Zero Dawn and basically tried to make the world look closer to that. So increased the quality and density of the foliage and the riverbanks. In the blog post they also note that they significantly boosted the number of NPCs, especially in cities and villages, and added many more places for NPCs to stand, sit, work and fulfill their needs. So basically make the world feel more alive, also by giving the NPCs more varied schedules. The Frozen Wilds DLC of course added snow deformation to Zero Dawn, but only in that new region. Well, now every area in Zero Dawn with snow will have this tag, and for the sand they have it now as well. The game almost has 300 conversations and 3100 dialogue options, which is wild to learn about, and you might know that they updated all the motion capture for these scenes to make them look way more natural versus the original. Like we got some new screenshots showcasing that as well. Also the new cloud tech they used for the Burning Shores expansion is now in Zero Dawn as well. And the remaster will even do things that Forbidden West did not do, because now also Aloy, her companions, will react to warm and cold weather, while in Frozen Wilds only Aloy did that. So really great stuff. Also got some quick shots, news stories I want to go over quickly. We namely got an update on the 007 game from Hitman Studio IO Interactive. They announced it almost 4 years ago in November 2020, and we now got a small update on it, as it should be the start of a big 007 game trilogy if the first title is of course successful. It will feature a brand new Bond that they built from the ground up for gamers, so it's not inspired by any of the movies, and the production is going amazingly well, and they will soon be talking more about it. I know it was a little teaser, not a lot of information, but there's a lot of cool stuff coming up. Sounds like we might get a trailer at the Game Awards on December 12th. I will of course keep you posted, and let me know what you hope to see from this 007 game in the comments. I loved the older titles, even the third person ones, so bring it on. Now, not so great news regarding Don't Nod. They are facing layoffs up to 69 developers. Their two recent titles, namely Banisher's Ghost of New Eden and Jusant, the climbing game, did not do very well, even though the reviews were pretty good. Like, they're kind of in a hard spot where their games are just not hitting on the same level as a Vampire and the first Life is Strange did. A lot is riding on Lost Records, Bloom and Rage, a new take on their narrative choice-based games like Life is Strange. I think it looks really cool, but I wonder if there's a big enough audience for this, even if it gets very high reviews. Like, you already see that right now with Life is Strange Double Exposure that's being made by the Life is Strange Before the Storm and Full Colors team. It has some pretty good early scores for the first 2 episodes that are out now, but on Steam only a few hundred people are playing it at the time of this recording. Now sure, this totally has to do with the expensive edition that you need to buy to play these episodes early, but I still think it shows you that the market for these types of games is shrinking and not really growing. When the first Life is Strange came out, this genre was kind of new and upcoming, and Telltale was like doing their thing, and now these games just don't hit the same anymore. If you played a lot of them, then you kind of know what to expect. I still want to play Life is Strange Double Exposure, but it's not like my top priority anymore, and that's why overall, because these games are less popular, I kind of worry for Don't Nod. They need to find their next hit, and next to Bloom and Rage, they plan to launch 2 other titles before 2027. I think it will be very important that these are a success. We'll of course have another gaming news roundup video like this at the end of the week, so subscribe to not miss that. A like on the video would really help me out, and we will have of course other content throughout the week as well. Check out our previous video on the Hogwarts Legacy DLC that got leaked by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.